When stress hormones flood your bloodstream, they trigger a cascade that can raise your blood sugar levels within minutes. Here's the science behind this hidden connection and what research shows may help. If you've ever noticed your glucose readings spike during stressful periods, even when your diet hasn't changed, you're experiencing something that affects millions of people worldwide. Clinical research has identified a direct biological pathway between psychological stress and blood sugar elevation that many people don't realize exists. Does this sound familiar? Maybe you've checked your blood sugar after a difficult day at work or during family conflict and found numbers higher than expected. Comment stress below, so I know you're following along with this important connection. The mechanism behind stress-induced blood sugar elevation involves your body's ancient fight-or-flight response. When your brain perceives stress, it immediately signals your adrenal glands to release cortisol and adrenaline. Studies show these hormones serve a specific evolutionary purpose. They were designed to give our ancestors quick energy to either fight a threat or run from danger. Here's where the science gets fascinating. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology demonstrates that cortisol directly instructs your liver to release stored glucose into your bloodstream. This process, called gluconeogenesis, can increase blood sugar levels by 20 to 40 points within just 15 to 30 minutes of a stress response beginning. But there's more to this story. Adrenaline, the other major stress hormone, simultaneously makes your muscle cells less responsive to insulin. Medical studies indicate this insulin resistance effect can persist for several hours after the initial stress trigger, creating a double impact on your glucose control. If you're finding this information helpful and want more evidence-based health content that explains the science behind these connections, hit that subscribe button. I share research-backed approaches to health optimization every week, always focusing on what the studies actually show. The chronic stress effect presents an even more concerning picture. When stress becomes ongoing, cortisol levels remain elevated throughout the day. Research from Harvard Medical School followed participants for 6 months and found that those with chronic stress showed consistently higher average blood sugar levels, even when controlling for diet and exercise factors. This chronic elevation happens because sustained cortisol exposure creates what researchers call glucocorticoid resistance. Your body starts requiring higher and higher glucose levels to feel normal, essentially resetting your baseline higher. Clinical trials have shown this can contribute to the development of insulin resistance over time. Now, here's where most people make a critical mistake that actually amplifies this stress-glucose connection. They try to manage stress and blood sugar as completely separate issues, when evidence suggests the most effective approach is address both simultaneously. You're halfway through, and if you're recognizing these patterns in your own experience, let me know with a quick comment. Now here's where the research reveals the specific interventions that may help break this cycle. Studies have identified several evidence-based approaches that target both stress reduction and glucose stability. The first involves what researchers call mindful glucose monitoring. Rather than checking blood sugar and feeling more stressed about the numbers, clinical trials show that understanding the stress connection can actually reduce the anxiety response to temporary spikes. Research published in Diabetes Care found that participants who learned about the stress glucose mechanism showed 30% less cortisol response when their readings were elevated. This knowledge itself appears to interrupt the stress cycle that can perpetuate high blood sugar. The second approach involves strategic stress management timing. Studies indicate that implementing stress reduction techniques immediately after recognizing a trigger can minimize the glucose impact. Deep breathing exercises, specifically the 4-7-8 breathing pattern, have shown promise in clinical trials for blunting cortisol release. Physical movement represents another evidence-based intervention. Research demonstrates that even light activity, like a 5-minute walk, can help muscles utilize the stress-released glucose more effectively. This doesn't eliminate the initial spike, but studies show it can reduce both the duration and intensity of elevated readings. Sleep optimization emerges as a crucial factor that many overlook. Medical research has established that poor sleep quality amplifies cortisol responses to daily stressors. Studies following participants for 8 weeks found that improving sleep consistency reduced average stress-induced glucose spikes by approximately 25%. The nutrition timing component also shows promise in research. Rather than avoiding food during stress, which can trigger additional cortisol release, studies suggest that balanced protein intake may help stabilize the stress response, Clinical trials indicate that having 15 to 20 grams of protein within an hour of a major stressor can support more stable glucose patterns. Progressive muscle relaxation techniques have demonstrated measurable effects in clinical settings. Research published in the American Journal of Medicine found that participants who practiced 10-minute relaxation protocols showed improved glucose variability within 3 weeks of consistent practice. Here's something particularly interesting from recent research: the social support factor. Studies tracking glucose patterns in people with strong social connections found significantly less stress-induced blood sugar. Variability compared to those reporting social isolation suggests that relationship quality may influence metabolic stress responses. The gut-brain connection also plays a role that research is still uncovering. Preliminary studies indicate that chronic stress can alter gut bacteria in ways that may influence glucose metabolism. While this research is early stage, suggests that supporting digestive health alongside stress management may provide additional benefits. For implementation, evidence suggests starting with awareness rather than perfection. Research shows that simply tracking stress levels alongside glucose readings for 1 week can reveal personal patterns that many people never notice. This data becomes the foundation for targeted interventions. Comment ready if you're going to start paying attention to your stress glucose patterns this week. And in my next video, I'll reveal the specific foods that research shows can either amplify or reduce your stress response, which directly impacts how your body handles glucose during challenging times. The key takeaway from all this research is that stress and blood sugar aren't separate health issues. They're interconnected systems that influence each other. Understanding this connection, based on solid scientific evidence, may help you develop more effective strategies for managing both. This content is for educational purposes only. Always consult your healthcare provider before making changes to your diabetes management approach. Individual results may vary, and stress management techniques should complement, not replace, your prescribed medical treatment.